Hello, beautiful people. Chris Sumlin here. Thank you so much for joining us for another episode of Politics and Pop Culture with Ciara and Chris. Unfortunately, Ciara is not able to do the show today because she had a scheduling conflict. But as soon as we were able to do joint shows again, we will hope to be back with Ciara, my lovely, intelligent, brilliant co-host on Friday. But until then, you just have me. I'm so sorry. Today is Wednesday, October 14th, 2020. Before we get started, I would like to wish a special happy belated birthday to my mom. Yesterday, October 13th, my mom celebrated her birthday. My siblings and I sent her an edible arrangement, and she really liked it and was very, very grateful. I grew up with my mom and my father. My mom and dad got married back in 1991, and then they had my brother in 93, and then had me, and then my brother William, and then my sister Brittany. And we really grew up as like this nuclear family where like my dad, did his thing and my mom did her thing and we all did our thing, and our family was really based on Christian principles. And I saw my mom and dad be so sacrificial and generous, and my dad taught me the importance of reading and working hard, and then my mom taught me so much about self-discipline and being a nice person, being kind. And we weren't ever allowed to skip school growing up unless you were literally vomiting, had diarrhea or a fever. You were going to school every single day with no excuses. And my mom was really, really adamant on making sure that we went to the library. She made sure that we had lunches packed. Like when I went to middle school and we didn't have a lunch program, like my mom packed my lunch. And she's always just been such a supportive mother. And she watches every episode of the show. Like my mom does not follow me on social media. She doesn't do Twitter or Instagram or Facebook, but she watches the YouTube show. And I remember when we were running just a little bit late, she texted me and was like, hey, is there going to be a new episode of P&P with C&C? And I just really appreciate her support and the fact that she watches the show. So just happy belated birthday to my mom. And I really do appreciate her support, because if your mom doesn't support you, you have a problem, because no matter what you do, you always have your mom's support. So happy belated birthday to my mom, and I hope she's having a fantastic week. So in the news, the Senate Judiciary Committee is holding its third day of hearings to consider the nomination of Judge Amy Coney Barrett, President Trump's nominee for the Supreme Court. Now, if you're not aware, the Supreme Court is a very, very big deal in our country, because the Supreme Court really handles the supreme cases and issues that affect many issues in America. And when you become a Supreme Court justice, there's only a limited amount of seats, and you serve a lifetime term. Most recently, some of you may have been aware of Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Ruth Bader Ginsburg was a Supreme Court justice. She was a feminist icon that was always pushing for dismantling patriarchy, pushing women's issues, and really doing her best to kind of be progressive in her policies. She most recently passed away, and with President Trump being the president right now, he was trying to nominate someone to take Ruth Bader Ginsburg's seat, and that's when he found Judge Amy Coney Barrett. So the seat has been vacant at least since last month, when Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg passed. And that's when the whole thing started, because some people felt that they should wait until we have a new president, so the American people kind of get a say in who gets to be nominated. Because if Trump wins, then let his nomination go. If Biden wins, let his nomination go, because the Supreme Court is so important. Some people thought that they should just wait a little bit until after the election. But President Trump wasn't trying to do that. He's trying to push his agenda and his ideologies. So he pushed and found Amy Coney Barrett. And so she's been getting questioned by the Senate for hours on, and I've been checking out the Senate hearings. It's very interesting to watch, because Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg, as I said, is very progressive. Like, she's a feminist. She really likes ideas of pushing women's issues further. And Amy Coney Barrett is more so of a conservative. Now, if you're not aware, there's really like three different types of groups in politics. There's liberals, where more liberating ideas, more let's start with conservatism. Conservatism is more so like the social philosophy characterized by respect for American traditions. It's more so Christian values, any type of like heteronormative traditional way of living, national defense, advocating pro-individualism, advocating of American exceptionalism, and a defense of Western culture from the perceived threats of communism, socialism, and moral relativism. So it's really like ideas that anything that keeps the nuclear family together, any type of ideas of relying less on the government for your basic needs, conserving those ideas and being less progressive and innovative. That's a conservative. Now, liberals are more people who are interested in more ideas that make sure there's more equality for everyone. Liberals anything that's progressive, anything that's innovative, LGBTQIA plus issues are more liberal, abortion rights are more liberal, feminist ideas are more liberal. That's more of a liberal, which is more so like what a lot of young people really are attracted to. A lot more Democrats are attracted to that. Then there's a moderate that's kind of in the middle, but kind of on the left, kind of on the right, kind of conservative, kind of liberal. That's like a moderate, which is what some people label Joe Biden as, a moderate, where he kind of expresses some ideas that are more conservative, but also is a Democrat, so he's more so a liberal, or what they consider the left. So yeah, and then there's like a radical that just believes America is systemically racist, is a horrible country, throw the whole thing away, let's start all over. There's radicals. So Amy Coney Barrett is being labeled as a conservative, and that can be really bad issues, because she can, being in the Supreme Court justice with her colleagues in that field, they can really undo a lot of the progressive cases that have taken place. So she might be anti-LGBTQIA plus issues. She might be anti-abortion. And that makes Democrats nervous, because they're like, we've made so much progress pushing progressive issues. And so for her to come in with her conservative ideas, it can cause a big stir. So if you're not aware, definitely check out the Amy Coney Barrett Supreme Court hearings. You get to hear like what her ideas are. You get to see her family, who's sister. You get to hear how she answers questions. She's very intelligent and she answers questions very well, but she also has ties to like this pro-Christian group called People of Praise. And a lot of those Christian ideas, it alienates and dehumanizes people who don't fall into those parameters and those boxes. So when people are gay, or they want to have abortions, or they want to be trans, a lot of that stuff doesn't sit well for these conservative Christian groups. So with her having the power to make sure that the law is being exercised correctly, interpreting the Constitution correctly, people are concerned that she might bring a bias when she look at her cases. So definitely check out Amy Coney Barrett's, do your reading on Supreme Court and what that means for this country. And we'll be following that shortly, because the hearings are going on literally as I speak right now. So make sure you check those out. In other news, NPR reports that Georgia voters have been facing long hour lines at polls on first day of early voting. Early voting opened Monday in Georgia for the 2020 general election, but the first day was met with technical issues and lines that in some locations stretched more than 5 hours long, particularly in the Atlanta metro area. Voters arriving in the morning at Atlanta State Farm Arena, the home of the NBA Hawks, and the state's largest early voting site with 300 voting machines, encountered technical issues, which election officials blamed on problems with the electronic poll pads. It's really unfortunate, but they said that although the lines were very long, that some people have been waiting more than 5 hours, while some voters said that concerns about mail-in voting prompted their in-person wait. One voter named Viola Hardy said, "I think people are just really ready to vote, and it doesn't matter how long it takes, we will stand in line to vote. We are voting like our lives depend on it." I send prayers and good wishes to everyone in Georgia that is trying to vote. I'm so excited that everyone is taking this election so seriously, because it is a big deal. People are willing to stand in lines for 5 hours to make sure that their voices are heard, because everyone understands what's at stake. It's really unfortunate that we, as Americans, and I think in my circle particularly, that I've kind of experienced, and in my experience, my apologies, forgive me for misspeaking, a lot of people feel like politics is not affected, it's not tied to their lives. People feel like politics, I don't know anything about that, it doesn't impact me, when it actually really, really does. It really baffles me that people will sit around and watch the NBA playoffs all day and follow the Kardashians, for example, but also not follow politics, because of course you're allowed to have your guilty pleasures and your entertainment, because of course I have mine, but it's important that we also do that real work of understanding that politics actually impacts our lives, where if Kim Kardashian drops a new product, that doesn't impact me. If LeBron James wins a championship, that doesn't impact me on an individual level. It might give me some type of happiness, but it's not going to impact me nearly as much as politicians are in their policies. And like when I try to go start a business and need a business loan, or I'm looking for someone to represent me to make sure that I get a stimulus during the coronavirus, like there's issues that impact us on an individual level every single day. So when we don't participate in politics, when we don't do our research, when we don't go exercise our right to vote, we're giving away our power, because whether we like it or not, we're a part of the government. So I commend everyone in Georgia that is facing those long hours to vote. I encourage everyone to get an opinion, get out there and vote. I know I will be voting. I plan on going October 24th. I thought I was going to be able to do in-person early voting, but the place where I went to go do my poll, the vote, they said they don't do early in person, that I have to wait till election day. So I have to go down to the Board of Elections and do mine that way. So I definitely plan on voting. I've been studying politics for the past year and a half. So y'all make sure you get out there and vote, make sure that your voice is heard, and do your civic duty. In other news, Trump and Biden will participate in competing town halls on Thursday, night after cancellation of the second debate. President Trump will participate in a town hall with NBC News on Thursday night, setting up a competing television event with Joe Biden in lieu of the second presidential debate, which got canceled. Biden is set to appear in the ABC town hall, and both events are scheduled for 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. As I said before, the two were originally scheduled to participate in a second debate, but the event was eventually canceled after President Trump objected to the virtual format announced by the Commission on Presidential Debates in light of Trump's positive coronavirus diagnosis. The event is set to take place outdoors and in accordance with the guidelines set forth by health officials, also consistent with all government regulations. So yeah, I'm really interested to see how these go. I think that this election has been very, very entertaining to follow. It will be really interesting to see what these two candidates say in their town halls, because Biden has like almost a double-digit lead. He's been leading the polls nationally for quite a long time. Even if there was a margin of error and something was off, it still seems like Biden will be the clear winner of this election, interestingly enough. So I just wonder what ways President Trump will try to revive his campaign, because he's running out of time. We have like literally less than 30 days until the election takes place. So it's really important that he really do something quick, because the way it's looking, he's not going to win. So I'm interested to see what he plans to do in this debate and in these town halls, not this debate, and how he will perform, because his campaign is not really doing well. So we will definitely be following that, and I definitely am looking forward to those Thursday night town halls. I will be trying to go back and forth between both, because I want to hear what both have to say, and I definitely encourage you all to try to tune in, and just, even if you don't know who you're voting for, it's just so important to, even if you know who you're voting for, it's just so important to always get informed. More facts are always better than less facts. So you want to be able to watch things firsthand. I also encourage people to not just watch highlights and watch clips and watch people's interpretation of an event, but watch the event for yourself. Because after these town halls take place, the next day, even me on Friday, we're all going to be on our platforms giving our interpretation of the event. And by just relying on someone else's interpretation, you rob yourself of your own objective opinion, and that's not the most intellectually responsible thing to do. So I really encourage y'all to watch both, have an opinion about them, talk to your friends about it, talk to your family about it, because we have to get involved with politics. And I really hope that people tune in and see what these candidates have to say, because we're getting down to the wire. I know that there's supposed to be 3 debates. So the first one was a disaster. It was very entertaining, but it wasn't really that productive. The second one was canceled because Trump had COVID. So now I'm interested to see how these town halls go, and I hope that there's a third debate so we can see these two interact with each other one more time to discuss the big issues. Yeah. It also will be interesting to see if President Trump tries to do another stimulus, because everyone likes money. So I wonder, because since his campaign isn't really doing that well, he's losing in the polls, but we're still in the midst of the pandemic and people are still unemployed and hurting. I wonder, will he try to push out another stimulus package that gives Americans $1,200 again, because that might sway people, because people are hungry, people are hurting. Like, we all know that we're living in really, really tough times. So that might be a way to kind of get some voters by doing another stimulus, but don't know. We'll see how that goes. Recently, also, to switch gears here, yesterday, Forbes announced their America's Richest Self-Made Women. Forbes ranking of the country's most successful women entrepreneurs and executives. And there were some really really good newcomers that have come onto the scene that are making a lot of money. So Forbes reports women are increasingly taking center stage in business, and in our 6th annual list, Forbes is shining a spotlight on the 100 richest self-made entrepreneurs, executives, and entertainers in the U.S., up from 80 a year ago. These trailblazers, worth a collective $90 billion, have started or helped expand companies that do everything from build rockets to create snowboards to COVID test. The pandemic has been kind to some, including Zoom Communications Financial Chief Kelly Steckelberg, who debuts on the list as shares of the work-from-home staple quintupled. How do you say that word? Quintupled? I've never seen that word in my life. During 2020, others such as cosmetic whiz Anastasia Sor and the co-founders of skincare firm Rodan & Fields have been less fortunate, as the quarantine hurt sales of some of their beauty brands. As we look at some of the list, The list members range in age from 23 for Kylie Jenner to 94 of the life, because that's how old Alice Schwartz is. She's a life science mogul, and they hail from all over the United States, but heavily concentrated in California, where 45 of them live. Fortunes were calculated using stock prices from September 11, 2020. Some really nice newcomers and newsmakers include Rihanna, because Rihanna is worth an estimated $600 million, with the source of her income coming from cosmetics and music. And it's funny because when Rihanna really hit the scene back in the early 2000s with Pon de Replay, she was an artist. Like, that was what we knew her as, was a singer. And the fact that her source of her income doesn't come from music anymore, but actually comes from cosmetics, I think is really interesting, because our musicians and our artists are finding different ways to diversify their income and create really good products and companies. And I think Rihanna has really been a really good staple. I'm hoping that some economics and scholars and pop culture enthusiasts do some case studies on Rihanna, because the way that she went from just like creating music, and I remember reading that she wasn't even that financially successful in the beginning, to now becoming arguably the richest singer out today, is really, really, really impressive. Her cosmetics line, Fenty Beauty, is a partnership with LVMH, has been a hit. Forbes estimates that it had over 600 million in sales in 2019. Her Savage Fenty lingerie line, co-owned by Towstec Fashion Company, reportedly raised 50 million from investors last year. Meanwhile, her Clara Lionel Foundation, named after her grandparents, raised $22.5 million for coronavirus relief. Rihanna is really doing a great job, and I'm so proud of her for making this list. She is number 33 on the list. Someone else that debuted on the list this year, Kris Jenner. The flight attendant turned momager is the mastermind behind her daughter's entrepreneurial endeavors. She takes a 10% cut of every penny that the Kardashian-Jenner family ranks in, including Kim Kardashian West and Kylie Jenner's 9-figure deals with beauty giant Coty, and brings in her income from executive producing and starring in the TV show Keeping Up with the Kardashians, which will end next year after its 20th season. Kris Jenner is number 92 on the list. Go Kris Jenner. She has a $190 million net worth. That is really, 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 really incredible. As I go through the list, I'm looking at the top. I'm just going down the list and seeing most of these people whose names I don't recognize. Roofing being a source of income, health, IT, eBay, retail and gas stations, Little Caesars. The name that I recognize first is number 9, Oprah Winfrey, who is 66 years old and has a net worth of $2.6 billion. And her net worth comes from her TV shows. It's very impressive. But it's funny because Oprah used to be worth 3.1, but I think it was after Weight Watchers took a hit that her net worth kind of decreased. But shout out to Oprah for being the first Black female billionaire on here with a $2.6 billion net worth. Sheryl Sandberg, who is an employee of Facebook, she's worth $1.8 billion and she's 51 years old. Shout out to Sheryl Sandberg. I know that name. I'm scrolling. Number 24, Kim Kardashian West, $780 million. She's 39 years old. She turns 40 this month in October. And Kim Kardashian is worth $780 million. Forbes reports that social media queen Kim Kardashian West has parlayed reality TV into an actual fortune, selling a mobile game, cosmetics, and now shapewear. The bulk of her wealth comes from cosmetics and fragrance company KKW Beauty. In 2020, she sold 20% of the company to Coty for $200 million. After tumultuous news cycles regarding her husband Kanye West, she announced her reality show Keeping Up with the Kardashians would end in 2021. She launched Skims, her shapewear line, in 2019, which is inclusive of all different body types, and that raised $5 million from a VC firm called Imaginary Ventures. She's number 24 on America's Self-Made Women's list. She's number 40 on the Celebrity 100 list. She's 39 years old, and she resides in Hidden Hills, California, with 4 children. Shout out to Kim Kardashian West, because she's definitely been coming up. As it sees, on July 2018, she was worth $350 million. And then she became worth $370 million in 2019, all the way to now $780 million in October of 2020. Shout out to Kim Kardashian. And they also say that she's richer than her billionaire sister, Kylie Jenner. Go Kim. That is very, very impressive. Shout out to all these women making all this money. She's ahead of Tory Burch. And I know Tory Burch is a very cool fashion line. And then number 29 is Kylie Jenner with a $700 million net worth. And then number 33, Rihanna. This is really, really, really impressive. And then number 40 is Madonna with a $550 million net worth. I wonder how much of these are true, because I feel like you have to work with Forbes in order to like give your net worth away, because they've been saying Beyonce has been worth $400 million for like forever. And I feel like Beyonce's probably a billionaire, but I feel like she doesn't want anybody in her business, because I don't know what I would get out of people knowing how much money I have down to the dime. Celine Dion is number 51. Number 53 is Judge Judy. Look at Judge Judy. Judge Judy is worth $445 million. Judge Judy. And I'm sure her show is very, very cheap to produce, because it's just one set. It's like not that many cameras, and it doesn't really need a lot of special effects. So shout out to Judge Judy. Also, the singer Ashanti, her birthday was recently as well. She just turned 40. So happy belated birthday to Ashanti, who just turned 40. I was a big fan of Ashanti because I remember like when I first started getting into secular music as a young kid, her debut album came out, and it featured some really good songs like Foolish, Happy, Unfoolish, Call. What else do I remember from that album? It was really, really good. Baby. Really, really good songs. Like I remember Ashanti was like that artist at one time. And there was even a New York Times article that said, Beyonce is good, but she's no Ashanti. And it's just like, look at Beyonce now, and look where Ashanti is now. Because Ashanti, I can't remember the last time I've heard a hit song from her. Maybe Good Good. That came out years ago, but I don't really know any Ashanti songs like that. Where, I mean, happy birthday, and I'm proud of you, but I don't really know any songs by Ashanti that have come out recently. I feel like after chapter 2, which had All Baby and Rain on Me, I don't remember us really hearing much from Ashanti since. She's had 5 albums. Ashanti, her self-titled album in 2002, chapter 2 in 2003, Concrete Rose. I remember that one because that had Rock With You. I think that was the name of the song. Then she had The Declaration, which came out in 2008, and Braveheart, which came out 2014. And it's unfortunate because I cannot name any songs from The Declaration or Braveheart. The Way That I Love You, I remember that one. This was in 2008, so she has not released the studio album since 2014. That's unfortunate. And that's unfortunate that they compared her to Beyonce, because when Beyonce was in 2014, she was on the Mrs. Carter World Tour and promoting her self-titled album Beyonce, which was like a global hit. So it's interesting how people can doubt you, before, and then they have to just count you back in when you're winning. Yeah, she was born on October 13th, 1980. Well, happy belated birthday to Ashanti. We've not really heard much of your music, but happy birthday to Ashanti. I hope that she is finding love and happiness in her life, and shout out to her. So, yeah. We've also reported that Brandy and Ty Dolla $ign have a new song together called Tomorrow Part 2. I don't really know much of Ty Dolla $ign's music as an individual artist, but he does do some really good features. I liked him on Hot Girl Summer with Megan Thee Stallion and Nicki Minaj. I also loved him on Mariah Carey's single The Distance. I thought he did a really good job on that. And then I liked when he did Paranoid, because I know he's on that song, but I liked it when Trey Songz was on there too. Like, it made the song better. But it's good that Brandy is still making music. She seemed to do really, really well with B7. And so shout out to Brandy, because it's great that she was really popping in the 90s with like Have You Ever and I Want to Be Down and all those classics. And she's still a part of the conversation in pop culture. Shout out to Brandy. So we will definitely be checking out that song and following her career. Kelly Rowland shimmers and shines on a new song called Crazy. That Grape Juice reports that it's dipped in disco. The uptempo boasts a contemporary kick by way of its hard-hitting lyrics, which see the singer get all sorts of candid about her unique kind of loving, even dropping a few F-bombs along the way. This is very interesting because Kelly Rowland just also announced that she's pregnant, but I see she has a new song out called Crazy. I've never known Kelly Rowland to really be an artist. I've never seen her really, really work hard in the same way that not even Beyonce, but just like any other R&B artist. I just wonder why she can't seem to get it. Like, there's been a couple of Kelly Rowland hits that I felt like I've really grabbed the culture, like Motivation, Dilemma, When Love Takes Over. What else do I know? Like Kelly Rowland, that was like a hit. Dirty Laundry, kind of. Like This, kind of. I mean, those songs are good, but I want to say that they were like really big hits. I've never really seen Kelly Rowland win an award. Like, there's never been, and the winner is Kelly Rowland. Like, we've never seen that moment. Or even, and then like, yeah, because even like people say, oh, she's in Beyonce's shadow, but then look at someone like Solange, who has, her is Beyonce's sister. And when A Seat at the Table came out and Cranes in the Sky came out, like, Solange won Grammys. Like, people really went up for Solange. Like, she has a very niche specific fan base where we know Solange's sound. We know that she's a songwriter. We know that she works hard. Like, Solange is just very different. and she's very talented, where Kelly Rowland, something's lacking. So shout out to Kelly Rowland. Also seems like Trey Songz has dropped a new album. Trey Songz sprung a surprise on fans October 2nd when he revealed Back Home, his first LP since 2017's Tremaine, will be released on October 9th. Led to a chart battle on the heels of his title track and album cuts, Two Ways I Know, Love, Circles, and 2020 Riots. The project marked a personal milestone for the 35-year-old heartthrob, as it was his first ever to hit shelves without a Hot 100 charting single preceding it. Unusual for this serial R&B hitmaker, the absence of even a moderate mark on the tally may be representative of the lack of buzz surrounding the effort, a predicament which has now been reflected in the industry's analysis predictions for his first week sales performance. I didn't even know Trey Songz released an album. I've not really heard much about it. I don't know any of the songs. As I just was reading those single titles, I had never heard of them. He's expected to sell less than 20,000 albums, and it's going to look like his album will debut at number 20 on his first week. And they're saying that he even reportedly tested positive for COVID. I know he has a young child, but I haven't really been checking for Trey Songz music for a while. I think his peak, unfortunately, was Ready, when he released Say Ah and I Invented Sex. Like, those songs were really, really good. And I don't know what happened with Trey Songz, but like artistically, I just never saw him really progress or do anything monumental in regards to his art. And everything that I'm seeing in these photos and on his videos looks like he needs a haircut. He doesn't look happy, and I wonder how the music sounds. Whether if it's the same type of "I'm so sexy, I'm so cool" that we've been hearing, it's not a surprise why this album wouldn't sell. Well, all right, everybody. Well, that's this episode of Politics and Pop Culture. I hope you had a good time and watched to the end. I know I can be kind of monotone, and I hope that I was captivating as we ventured through everything going on in politics and pop culture. If this is your first time ever watching our show, be sure to subscribe, like, and share, because we're going to continue to be making episodes every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Episodes are guaranteed to be uploaded by 12 o'clock on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Usually it's me and Ciara, but it's just me. This show is available on all different podcasting platforms as well as YouTube. So just continue to subscribe, support, and tell a friend. Tell a friend what we're doing, what we're trying to do, and how we're just trying to get people to have intelligent conversations and learn about what's going on in the world. So I'm going to stop here, and I thank you all so much for this episode of Politics and Pop Culture, and I'll see you on Friday. Have a great day.